Well, I gotta thank you guys for keeping me in the game. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, of course, Sebastian. I was getting really tense after the last vote. I mean, I almost went home. But luckily, I didn't. And I'm glad that they split their votes, and I'm glad Dior stuck with me and Ted to take out Joel. And I'm really glad he's gone because he was getting annoying, and he probably would have been a threat moving forward. Well, we can't lose the next challenge, guys. We need to at least tie Goto in terms of numbers. I agree, if we give them the majority, they could all stick together. Yeah, so let's try winning the next challenge. Yep. Joel went home last night, which isn't what I wanted, but at the same time, it is kind of what I expected since, Dior was tempted to not only split the vote, but also tempted to flip. And Joel was getting rather annoying, so I guess I'm not too surprised to see him go. But it's still not good for me, because I was the only one who voted for Sebastian. Alright, Olivia, I feel like you deserve a right to know. Yeah, please explain. So the thing is, I did want to split the votes, but Joel really made it complicated because he didn't want to, but me and Julianne were like, we're splitting anyway. Yeah, I decided to change my vote at the last minute to Joel. Alright, and why couldn't you tell me about this? Well, because Joel was in our alliance, we didn't know if you were going to go through with voting him off. That's kind of all it comes down to. Yeah, well, I kind of recognize he was getting annoying, but we could have needed him for, like, a shield. Yeah, but, he's gone. We can't change that. With Joel gone, we did lose our strongest member, but I feel like we're a more unified tribe, because when Joel was around, tension between him, Sebastian, and Ted were, kind of high, so I'm kind of glad that we got rid of the tension. So hopefully when we go into the next challenge, we'll be a bit more of a unified unit, rather than, kind of a dysfunctional mess. Well, I hope in your two's cases, I hope it was the right call. Yeah, probably wasn't for me because I voted Ted, and it probably wasn't ideal for me to vote Ted. Yeah, why didn't you, either stick with them in a tie or, vote with me? Well, because I still wanted to kind of go through with the split vote method. My move on Joel worked. He went out just like I wanted him to. And yeah, we might be a more weaker tribe than before because, he was our strongest member, probably. But I feel like we're a more unified tribe, and I think we can win the next challenge. But if we don't, then things are going to get complicated because I don't really want to betray Julianne, and I don't really want her to get mad at me if I end up voting Olivia because, well, I presume that's what the guys are probably going to do. Glad to still be here? Of course, man. I mean, what kind of question is that? I'm just asking, but man, it was so awesome. Just wipe that smug look off of Joel's face when he went out. Yeah, I know, it was great. While it does concern me that I did receive a vote at last night's tribal council, I'm feeling rather okay because, if, the girls all stick together, I feel like they'll most likely take out Sebastian over me because he puts himself out there as more of a threat than I do. But that's in the case if we do lose and it does happen. And I hope it doesn't because I don't want to lose my closest ally yet because, he's still needed for my game. I still need him here. But, that's not really my decision. It's the girls', and it's not really the smartest place to put faith in. Well, Dior was willing to flip, so we gotta hope she would be tempted to flip again. Yeah. Despite making an early alliance with the guys, I kind of feel like I need to start working more on my social game because it is just me and Ted, and if the girls all stick together, then, well, one of us is going home, and I feel like it might not be Ted, so I feel like what I gotta do is work on my social bond with Dior because she was the one person who, voted with me and Ted. Hey Dior, I just wanted to kind of come by and say thank you. Yeah, of course. You said we would talk about this later. Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. Alright, well, what is it? By voting with Ted and Sebastian, I essentially secured myself right in the middle. Because I'm pretty sure Julianne would be more wanting to keep Olivia here, whereas Ted and Sebastian might be tempted to vote off Olivia. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like that's how it's probably going to go, so I feel like I am in the middle. Well, because things are going through my mind. They may not be 100% correct, but it's just the most likely possibility of what's going to happen. Well, what do you think? Well, because here's the thing. You and Ted are on one side, and Olivia and Julianne are on the other side. Yeah, your point? My point is, I feel like I'm right in the middle. But I just don't really want to be pressured into voting one side against the other, and vice versa. Like, I don't want to be pressured into voting with you and Ted, but I also don't want to be pressured into voting with Julianne and Olivia. Well, I mean, that's good to know. But, like, do you have a preference? No, not really. Not right now. No offense. It's just that I know that you and Ted are, like, bigger threats, at least physically, than, say, Julianne and Olivia. But it's just something going through my mind that's just kind of puzzling me. Dior's a pretty rational player. That is pretty dangerous, especially since, she isn't the most physical, but, I mean, she seems genuine, she seems nice, and I feel like she would want to keep me in the game. At least that's what I'd hope, but, I'm not the one calling the shots right now. All I just say is go with where your heart's content, and, if that means voting me off or Ted off, then, well, I don't really care. Well, actually, I kind of do care. From my perspective, I do care because I'd rather stay, but if it works for your perspective, then, well, just do that then. Yeah, well, thanks, Sebastian. Oh, by the way, I do know about Olivia's idol. Yeah, I kind of figured you did. Did you tell Ted about it? Yeah, I did. Huh, so the only person who didn't know about the idol was Joel, but that's irrelevant since he's gone, so everyone knows about Olivia's idol, so what makes you think of her? Well, she's obviously a very smart player, she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and, well, yeah, she seems rather elusive, since she did talk to me, Ted, and Joel early on about making an early alliance, and then suddenly jump ship. Really? Yeah, she made she was a part of an early alliance because we built the shelter. No offense to you and, Gabe and Elizabeth and Julianne. It's just that's just kind of how it went. Yeah, no, I won't deny it. I could have contributed, but I didn't. It really amazes me the fact that Olivia made this, alliance early on with Joel, Sebastian and Ted because they all worked on the shelter. Olivia didn't inform us about this. I mean, obviously, I guess that's the point, but, still, it makes you think more about how Olivia is playing. I feel like we just gotta focus on winning, and then we'll start strategizing later in the merge. I guess it makes sense. Julianne, be honest with me. With what? Did you tell anyone about the idol? I have a sneaking suspicion something is going wrong because I get some side glances from all these people, and it makes me think that these people know something that I'm not aware of. And then when I keep thinking about the circumstances of this game and what I currently have in my possession, it really gets me thinking. Why would you ask that? Because I'm getting all these side glances. I'm getting some from Dior, some from Ted, and even some from Sebastian. So it's like, what's going on? Well, I might have told Dior about the idol. I'm sorry, I just thought we could trust her. This is Survivor, Julianne. In Survivor, you can't really trust anybody. Not even those in your alliance. Yeah, but, I mean, she's in our alliance, is she not? Yes, but you gotta understand this. She was the one that voted our ally off. Yeah, but I didn't vote with him. Still, though, that just proves that, you know, Dior's willing to make a move, and her knowing about my idol, that's even worse. I really probably shouldn't have told Dior about Olivia's idol. If I didn't, then, well, Olivia would not lose trust in me, but by doing that, I essentially kind of tainted our relationship. Hopefully she still understands that, you know, this alliance is still a majority between me, her, and Dior. And if we lose, then hopefully one of the guys would end up going. Listen, actually telling Dior about the idol is actually good. What makes you think that? Well, you see, by you having the idol, she'd be suspicious on if you play it. But by you having it in your possession, that would detract her from wanting to vote with Sebastian and Ted, because if you end up using the idol, one of those two would still go home instead. So what? Like, scare her into thinking I'd play it at the final, like, pre-merge tribal council? Essentially, I mean, that's the best hope we can have. I can see where Julianne's coming from. By telling Dior about the idol, you know, that would cause her to not want to vote with the guys if I end up wanting to play the idol. Obviously, I don't want to right now because I have no reason to yet because we haven't even lost. But still, I'm really puzzled onto why Julianne still had to tell Dior about the idol, because Dior, frankly, you know, is kind of sketchy because obviously she voted with Ted and Sebastian, and I don't trust those two at all. We'll only focus on that if we lose. Well, we probably will. Joel was our strongest member. Well, we gotta hope that, well, in this sense, unity is more important than strength. Well, I guess it's good to be immune, right? Yeah, I guess, though it would be good to go to Tribal Council and see where everyone else stands. Yeah, I kind of feel you on that one, but, you know, going into the merge with numbers would be good. Kenzie, you do realize Gina and Deacon are not with us, right? Oh, oops. Yeah, Kenzie seems rather aloof. I mean, we can't trust Deacon and Gina, so even if we win the next challenge and go into the merge with numbers, it probably won't matter. You know what I can't help but think? What? I can't help but think that that other team threw the challenge. What makes you say that? Well, they got that really strong, tough guy on the other team in yellow, and, you know, he seemed rather physical. And he seemed like he wasn't even trying. You think he might be trying to make something happen? Maybe. Do you feel like maybe it got him voted out? Possibly, you never know. But here's the thing. We obviously gotta know we are still in contention of going out because we don't really have the numbers if, you know, Maurice and Shell are in the middle and Deacon and Gina are on the other side. But didn't you say we had Maurice? Yeah, but now since, you know, he and Shell got closer after, you know, whatever, I don't know when, but like, because they're getting close, that means that they're essentially the deciding factors, and that would detract Maurice from wanting to vote with us if Shell wants to vote with Deacon and Gina. Wow, that's that's a lot to think about. Yeah, well, when there's really nothing to do at camp, that's all I gotta do. All I do is think. Shell, are you still willing to work with me and Gina? Yes, Deacon, yeah. So, I mean, are you gonna try and get Maurice? I'll try. I'll certainly try, but don't count on anything because he has gotten close with both Raoul and Kenzie. Putting my fate in Shell is not a good thing because Shell is a firecracker and I don't trust her one bit. And, you know, she ends up, you know, going with that other side. I'm certainly not going to be thrilled. Well, what do you think? Well, I don't really trust her, but she's our only hope. Yeah. Do you think that there could be cracks on the other side? Well, we gotta hope that, because if Maurice and Shell vote with us, theoretically if they do, and we go into the merge and there are cracks in the other side, then we would be able to have power as long as there's like 2 people that flip and we got like a majority 6. Yeah, but it depends on who's flipping, because if it's like someone like tough, like maybe that yellow suit guy, or maybe the guy with the maroon jacket, then, well, I don't know if we would take them long term into the game because they are pretty strong. Pretty strong? Okay, yeah, they are really strong, so yeah, I feel like it makes no sense to take them far if they are willing to flip. Well, we don't know who's going to flip, but I guess we'll see who's at the challenge when we get to it. Alright. Deacon's worried about Shell. I am too, because, you know, there's a possibility her and Maurice might not even stick with me and Deacon and vote with us. And there's a strong possibility they take out either me or Deacon. I presume they take out Deacon just because he's more physical, but I'm not 100% sure. But I can't risk losing Deacon, but I also can't risk losing the possibility of working with Shell and Maurice, because I do know that I do need them for the future, and I would hope that they would understand that Raoul and Kenzie are 2 people who aren't to be trusted. So, Maurice, where do you stand? I'm not decided yet. Really? Yeah, I'm not. I mean, both sides got their merits. Yeah. So, what do you think? Well, I think that there's a reason to keep Deacon and Gina, but there's also a reason to keep Raoul and Kenzie. I feel like Deacon and Gina, because they are on an equal playing field with us in terms of how big of a threat they are compared to us, I feel like that they'll most likely be a bit more loyal to us than Raoul and Kenzie. But Raoul and Kenzie came to me first about the idea. And, you know, I feel like there's a reason to trust them as well, because Raoul is also really strategic, and his strategic prowess is more impressive than either Gina or Deacon's. So by him being a bigger threat, that's a bigger target on his back, and one we don't have to worry about having on our back. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Here's the thing, me and Shell are in the center, and that's just plain and simple because, you know, there's 2 sides. There's Raoul and Kenzie and Deacon and Gina. I know it's kind of sounding like a broken record, but, like, that is just how it is. And me and Shell are deciding on whether or not we would want to take out, you know, either Raoul or Kenzie. Most likely Raoul, because he just puts himself out there as the bigger threat. Or get rid of Deacon or Gina. And I don't know where Raoul or Kenzie are voting in between those 2, but I guess we'll find out when the time comes. But point is, me and Shell have the decision to make, and it could either make or break our games. The more that I think about it, I feel like we need to do something very risky. What? I feel like if me and Maurice got a decision to make on which side we side with, I feel like we have to do it at the next tribal council, so it might be awfully risky, but I think we do need to throw the challenge. Alright, here's the thing. I feel like we should throw the challenge. Wait, what? Why? Well, we have a decision to make, right? Yeah? Well, why not make it at the next tribal council? I know throwing a challenge is stupid, but, like, I feel like if we don't throw the challenge, then that's more tension on our tribe, and, you know, when the merge comes, all hell's gonna break loose. Yeah, but isn't that what makes Survivor fun? Yeah, I know, but, like, I feel like there's still gonna be bombshells regardless during the merge. Yeah, I guess, but, like, I feel like it makes more sense to have the majority. Yeah, but here's the thing. Even if we have the majority, neither Raul or Kenzie or Deacon and Gina are going to work together in the merge. So I feel like it's pointless just keeping one of them in. I mean, I guess, the more you think about it. I was hesitant on Shell's plan to throw the challenge because it makes no sense to throw challenges. But in the context of the stage of the game we're at, which is almost the merge, and also the fact that there is two sides on this tribe that me and Shell can go with, I feel like it makes sense for us to just pick that one side at the next tribal council. So, yeah, maybe we do have to throw. Alright, I'm gonna go talk with Deacon and Gina about the idea of throwing the challenge. You talk with Raul and Kenzie about it. Okay then. You want us to what? Throw the challenge. Why would we do that? Listen, are we even thinking about working with Raul or Kenzie during the merge? I mean, I don't trust them at all, so probably not. That's my point. If me and Maurice are gonna pick a side, we might as well do it at the next tribal council, just to ensure there's no, like, tension. I mean, fair I guess, but I don't feel like throwing's necessary. Well, to me it is. And if we don't throw, there's a likely chance I probably won't vote with you guys moving forward. Well, thoughts? I mean, it was rather a little scummy of her to straight up just say, oh, I won't work with you two if we don't throw. Yeah, but, I mean, we do need Shell on our side. Yeah, that's the one drawback. So you want us to throw the next challenge? I feel like that's what we gotta do. But why would we do that? Well, we're not working with Deacon and Gina moving forward, are we? Well, I mean, it's crossed my mind, and sticking with the tribe units might be smarter, but, like, I don't trust them at all, so yeah, maybe not. So, you think we should throw? I think we should. I mean, if me and Shell are gonna make a decision, we might as well make it at the next tribal council. Alright, suit yourself. I really don't like the idea of throwing challenges. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cheap and lame way to get a move done, but, like, I mean, Maurice is right. We don't necessarily have to have the majority over the other tribe. And Deacon and Gina would be tempted to just flip to the other side anyway, so maybe we should just throw it. And, I mean, the other tribe threw their challenge last time, so I feel like we just gotta do that. I mean, we don't owe that other tribe anything, do we? No, of course not, but, like, I mean, it would kind of feel kind of good to go back to tribal council. Throwing the challenge is awfully risky, but I think that is what we gotta do, because me and Kenzie, I don't know if we are gonna be able to even work with Deacon and Gina moving forward, because, you know, they don't trust us, we don't trust them, so I feel like maybe we should just let the other tribe just have immunity. I'm not quite sure, but, like, I feel like, you know, this whole time I want to go to tribal council, and I feel like, you know, an opportunity opens up to go to tribal council. So, I might want to just take the offer just because going to tribal council is something I do kind of want to do. Come on in, guys. Goto, getting a new look at the new Dara tribe. Joel voted out the last tribal council. Alright, immunity is back up for grabs. Wait a minute, wasn't that just back at our camp? Yeah, how did you manage to get that? Through the power of editing. Now let's stop wasting time. Alright, let's get to today's challenge. For your challenge, you will select one member of your team to go against a member of the other team. You will be taking these colored bags and trying to knock the other person into the water. We are going to 5 points. So if you knock your opponent into the water, you earn your team a point. The first team with 5 points will win immunity and will be safe from the boat. And the losing team will lose a member and they will be the 5th person voted out of this game. Alright, if we don't have any questions, it's time for the challenge. First off, you guys need to sit somebody out. You can't sit people out in back-to-back challenges. So, once you sit someone out, we'll get started. Alright, Shell is opting to sit out. Let's get to the first match. Alright, for this first battle, it will be Sebastian versus Deacon. Alright, for the first point, survivors ready. Go! Ooh, collision. Sebastian's up. Deacon's still on the ground. Deacon looks like he's finally about to get up. Ooh, but Sebastian knocks the bag out of his hands. And in a very weird tactic, Sebastian throws his bag onto Deacon and throws him off just to throw his own bag off. That's still good enough to earn his team the first point. Alright, for our next battle, it will be Olivia versus Kenzie. Alright, to earn the second point, or the first point for Goto. Survivors ready. Go! Olivia and Kenzie completely miss each other. Kenzie takes Olivia down. That could lead to Goto's first point to tie up with Dara. Ooh, and Olivia with a powerful push. And Olivia knocks the bag out of Kenzie's hands. And Olivia takes Kenzie down, earning the second point for Dara. After looking back in the footage, found out that both tribes grabbed the wrong bags. But it doesn't matter, because points are still points. Alright, for the next battle, it will be Julianne taking on Gina. Alright, survivors ready. Go! Ooh, and Gina, with a mighty push, takes Julianne down. And Julianne suddenly drops her bag. And it looks like Julianne is doing the same thing Brad did to Hunter in Heroes vs. Villains. And just like that season, Julianne beats Gina despite losing her bag. And she earns the third point for Dara. Goto, you need to really work on what you guys are doing, because whatever's going on is not going well. Alright, for the next battle, we will have Ted facing off against Maurice. Alright, Dara could make it 4-0 while Maurice is trying to break the clean sweep. Survivors ready. Go! Ooh, Maurice knocks Ted over. And in another unorthodox tactic, Ted decides to just chuck his bag onto Maurice and knock both of the bags out of their hands. And Ted knocks Maurice off. That's the 4th point for Dara. Goto, Dara are whipping your butt. You have to really pick up the pace. Alright, for this battle, we have Dior versus Raul. Alright, here's the deal. If Dior wins this battle, then that means Dara queen sweep the entirety of Goto, and Goto will go to Tribal Council. But if Raul wins, he breaks the sweep and also finally earns Goto a point, and they stay in this challenge. Survivors ready. Go! Raul seemed to have just been standing there, but then completely shoves Dior over. Ooh, and a shocking twist. Dior moves out of the way, causing Raul to take himself off the platform. Which means Dara clean sweep Goto and win immunity. Woo! Yeah, I did it! Way to go, Dior. Yeah, nice job. Alright, nice. Final 10. Well, maybe this was the right call. Well then, impressive work, Dara. You have won immunity. You're safe from the vote. Come grab the totem. Alrighty, no tribal council for anyone of Dara. You guys will not be losing another member. You can grab your stuff and head out. I'll see you guys soon. I feel really good since we won the challenge, and not only that, but I was able to earn my team the final point to win. So, I'm feeling really good. Goto, I don't know what the heck that was, but whatever it was, you guys have lost. You guys will be voting out the 5th person out of this game after 18 days. I'll give you the day to decide who's going, and then Tribal Council tomorrow night. So head back to camp, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, another loss. Yeah, another person's going. Yep, one of us is not making it to the merge. So today we threw the challenge. I hope this was the right call, because if it's not and the vote doesn't go my way, then, well, I'm not going to be in a good spot. Well, how are you feeling after we threw? I'm mixed. I mean, I get, trying to, get Shell and Maurice on our side, and we have to just try and get either Kenzie or Raul out, but even still, I don't feel like throwing was the right call, because if it doesn't work, one of us could go. Yeah, that's a risk, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I decided to go with the tribe and, throw the challenge. It was probably a risk on my part, especially if I could be the one picking up the votes from Raul or Kenzie. But I feel like we had to do it just to try and get Shell and Maurice on our side to get those two out. Hey, you two. Hey, Deacon. Hey, Gina. Alright, we wanted to kind of talk to you two about the vote. Alright, so who are you two doing? Well, we're going to be voting for Raul because Raul is the bigger threat of the two. And I feel like if we're just up against Kenzie, it won't really be that much of a problem. But with Raul, you know, he's a strategic threat and, you know, he's pretty cunning. So I feel like we have to take him out. I mean, it makes sense. He probably is the smarter one. Yeah, so we're going to be doing Raul, and we hope you two do the same. Okay then. So, we need to get those two on our side. Yeah. Do you know who we would vote? Honestly, I don't really know, because there's a reason to vote off either Gina or Deacon. I feel like Gina's more of a social threat, but Deacon's more of a physical threat. Thoughts? I mean, I don't know. I guess it all comes down to what we value most. So, me and Kenzie are on the chopping block. Probably me, because I assume that's who Deacon and Gina would vote for. But, obviously me and Kenzie have to try and get Maurice and Shell to vote with us, because they are the swing votes. So, we gotta get them on our side and try and take out either Gina or Deacon. And it's kind of hard deciding which one of the two would go. Gina is more social than Deacon, but Deacon is definitely more physical. It's just, I guess, what comes down to me and Kenzie voting either of the two is what we value most. Alright, let's get Shell and Maurice over here. Alright. Hey, Maurice, Shell. Oh, hey you two. Can you come over here for a sec? Yeah, we were going to do so anyway. Gotta be curious with you two. Are they voting for me? Yeah, probably. I mean, they said that they would vote you, but I don't know. They could be lying, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. Alright, all I'm just gonna say is I don't think you two should vote with those two. I feel like I am a better ally than those two. I have, you know, a better offer than they do. Alright, and what is that? Well, I know I'm a bigger threat, probably, than either Gina or Deacon. But that's good for you two, because I'd be taking all the heat. Gina and Deacon would not, because they are nowhere near as big of threats as you two are. Because I feel like you're probably one of the strongest people here, Maurice, and you've got a great story, Shell. Those are like threats to the game as well. And I feel like you're probably on the same playing field as Gina and Deacon. If you're up against someone like me, who's very strategic and whatnot, I feel like you guys would be in a much better spot. Alright, and who are you guys voting? Well, we haven't decided that. That's the tricky part, because there's a reason to get rid of Gina and Deacon. Okay then. Me and Maurice are faced with a dilemma, because we have the two offers. One offer from Deacon and Gina, and one from Raul and Kenzie. And honestly, I am tempted to go with Deacon and Gina and vote off Raul, because Raul and Kenzie haven't gave me and Maurice a certain name to write down straight away. So that gets me thinking that Raul is someone who reads the room. So that means I feel like he might be someone who could be more dangerous later on. But he does bring up a good point. He's definitely a bigger threat than either Deacon and Gina, and I can hide behind him if I need to. So, where do you sit? I'm unsure. Really? Yeah, part of me really kind of wants to do Raul, because at least Gina and Deacon gave us a name, and, you know, they weren't, you know, taking more time to think about it. But Raul and Kenzie did, and that gets me thinking Raul is one of those people who reads the room and knows that there's a reason to get rid of one person and another person, and that's someone who could be dangerous. Yeah. But on the other hand, he's also a much bigger threat than either Deacon and Gina, and he would be a better shield in the merge than either of those two, and we may need to get all the protection we need. Yeah. So, where do you stand? I'm honestly not sure, because, you know, yeah, I mean, Deacon and Gina did give us a name, actually, whereas Raul and Kenzie were more vague about it. But yeah, Raul definitely seems like a bigger threat and a better shield than either Deacon or Gina. So, thoughts? Yeah, I truly do not know. This is pretty tough, because I trust Raul and Kenzie a little bit more than Deacon and Gina, because I haven't had full-blown interactions with those two. However, they did give me a official name of who they're writing down, whereas Raul and Kenzie were a bit more on the fence about things. But at the same time, Raul is a much bigger threat, but at the same time, that's a reason to get rid of him, but also a reason to keep him, as Shell said, because he would be a better shield, and considering I am a really physical player, you know, I may need to get some of that protection just to, you know, avoid being targeted. Well, we certainly got a decision to make. Yep. And tonight it will either be the right move, or it may be the wrong move. Tribal's coming up, and me and Maurice cannot risk the possibility of getting this vote wrong, because if we do, then, well, it might come back to haunt us later. So, we are just trying to focus on the merge and who we don't want to see at the merge, and there's a reason to get rid of Raul, and then a reason to get rid of Deacon and Gina, depending on where Raul and Kenzie vote. But, like, this decision could be something I regret, and I came into this game not wanting to do things I regretted, and I already kind of broke that, but tonight I do not want to make a regret that's going to come back and bite me in the ass later. Whichever way we vote tonight, things will definitely boil over. Welcome, Goto, to another tribal council. So, Shell, you guys have lost again. This time you guys got clean swept by Dara. How are you feeling? Well, it obviously sucks, Jeff. We won that challenge, and we lost, plain and simple. So, Raul, out of curiosity, were you guys just kind of throwing that challenge? Well, you asked, so, yeah, we kind of were throwing. We didn't want to make it look very obvious that we were, but yeah, we basically were throwing. So, by throwing the challenge, Gina, isn't that a bit of a risk? Well, the risk is the fact that we're going into the next round 5-5 when we could have had majority 6-4 against Dara, but, you know, I feel like due to circumstances, we just had to go to tribal. And so, Maurice, what's tonight's vote being based upon? Well, it's essentially two sides, and me and Shell are in the middle. That's interesting, because you two received votes last night. So, Deacon, is that true? Are they in the middle? Yeah, probably. I mean, not probably. I mean, I know they are, because, you know, it's me and Gina on one side, Kenzie and Raul on the other, and, you know, we're essentially fighting for who gets to stay. Alright, with that said, it's time to vote. Kenzie, you'll start us off. It was tough, but I just value you more as a threat than the other. I don't trust you at all, so I hope Shell and Maurice don't as well. I'll go tally the votes. Alright, I have the votes. Now if anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now'll be the time to do so. No? Alright. Once the votes are read, the decision is final. The person voted out will be asked to leave the tribal council area immediately. I'll read the votes. First vote. Raul. Raul. That's 2 votes, Raul. Deacon. That's 2 votes, Raul. 1 vote, Deacon. Deacon. We're tied. 2 votes Raul, 2 votes Deacon. Deacon. That's 3 votes Deacon, 2 votes Raul, 1 vote left. Final vote. The 5th person voted out of Survivor the Amazon. Deacon. Deacon, that's 4 votes. That's enough for tonight. You need to bring Mirror Torch. Bye, Deacon. Love, Gina. Deacon, the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go. Well then, you guys have attended your 2nd tribal council, and now you're down to 5 members, and even with Dara. How will that work out for you guys moving forward? Only time will tell. Anyways, got nothing else for you guys. Grab your stuff and head back to camp. Good night. Big day tomorrow. Man, this just sucks. I was so close to the merge, and I get cut off here because Maurice and Shell are too oblivious to how big of a threat Raul is. Or maybe they aren't, and they just, want to vote me out over Raul. I'm rather surprised, but also not, that Raul and Kenzie voted for me over Gina, but hey, it is what it is. I'm pretty disappointed. I wish I made it to the merge, because I feel like I was in an alright spot, but this is where my journey ends, and I'm very disappointed about it.